almost certainly Hugh's. During the night's sojourn, Buddy visited Casey's bar, where his appearance provoked conversation. He then moved on to the Winter Hill Lounge for a nightcap, where a patrolman Kiley was on detail. It was almost midnight when Somerville patrolman Red Bavin, walking his beat, sounded his duty call from the street. Then he entered the Winter Hill Lounge for a routine check and to eject the patrons. "It's time to leave," he announced. As the Hill crew moved to the door, Buddy, although carrying a .38 tucked inside his belt, nevertheless approached Kiley. He shined his badge and said, "That's for good luck." The trio left the lounge and crossed Broadway. Watching them from the lobby of the Capitol Theater was a single patron, draped in a black trench coat and wearing a stocking over his head. He carried a new automatic shotgun bought from Sears and watched as Buddy and Sacramone walked to one side of the vehicle. D'Agostino got on the car's other side. None of the three noticed their stalker until it was too late. The rifleman had at least given Buddy a warning about bars, Winter Hill, and assassins. It was perhaps 1:10 a.m. when Officer Bavin looked out the lounge window and noticed someone lurking in the shadows of the theater lobby across the street. The man stepped out, lifted his weapon, and ran at Buddy and his companions 60 feet away. Bavin drew his revolver and raced out the door just as the gunman opened fire. In an amazing and athletic feat, without once pausing, the shooter caught both Buddy and Sacramone in the head and D'Agostino, on the other side of the car, in the arm. They all crumpled helplessly to the street. The assassin ejected the last shell unfired and ran back into the theater. He flew through the lobby and out back over the rubble piles, dropping the gun and the stocking. He worked his way through a maze of backyards, losing Bavin, and reached Sewell Street. There the gunman, almost certainly Stevie Hughes, jumped into a getaway car which drove off into the night. For a few dollars' worth of bullets, the shooter had nearly torn Buddy's uncommonly handsome head in two and just missed killing his bodyguards. D'Agostino's arm shattered when it caught a slug headed, intentionally or not, directly at his heart. Joe claimed the Hughes brothers celebrated by getting drunk. They also were marking the anniversary of Bernie McLaughlin's murder. Ambulances descended on Broadway, and the wounded were loaded inside for transportation. A phone call awoke Howie Winter, and, learning of the assault, he drove over to the theater, found it overrun with police, and didn't stop. At 3 a.m., Joe was in the crowded West End social club, negotiating a loan from proprietor Peter Lamoni. Then someone announced, "Buddy McLean got shot tonight." Thinking it was a joke, Joe smiled and denied it was true. "I was just talking to Buddy tonight," he said. Realizing this wasn't a jest, Joe froze, stomped out of the club, and began to inquire about one of the few people he ever had something good to say about. Under police guard, an unconscious Buddy lingered in a room in Mass General Hospital. His doctors predicted that if he survived, he'd be a vegetable. At 10:30 a.m. the next day, his body overtook his mind, which had already passed on elsewhere. He was 35, and the last of the tough guys, said the Somerville police chief. A man was dead, Joe noted. This was strategy. Reputedly, Stevie Hughes had once said, "What good are a tribe of Indians without a chief?" Joe was probably next on the McLaughlin hit parade. On November 2nd, the McLeans held Buddy's wake in a rose-filled room in Kelleher's funeral home at 67 Broadway. The casket was closed for obvious reasons, but a large framed photo of Buddy stood on top of the lid. Buddy's wife and son managed a dry-eyed and brave front and greeted everyone who passed by the coffin. Joe visited the Hill that afternoon and returned at 9 a.m. on November 4th for the funeral and solemn high mass of requiem. It was a low-key, working-class ritual, with Howie Winter acting as one of the pallbearers. "I wonder which one will get it next," queried one Somerville resident, in earshot of a reporter. When Buddy's funeral mass concluded, the cortege drove on to nearby Holy Cross Cemetery in Malden. There, the remains of Buddy, Bernie, and Punchy would reside together, closer in death than the living men had been in life. A newspaper columnist noted, "Mention a McLaughlin, and someone will mention McLean, even if he's in Ethiopia." The Hill shot back on November 13th, when someone let loose a fusillade of bullets on McLaughlin ally Maxie Shackelford as he drove a car. One slug nailed him in the arm and sent him to Mass General Hospital for stitches. On Wednesday the 24th, when Shackelford